Hello everyone, this is the Crimson Crusader, your #1 source for anti-MGTOW content. The crusade against the MGTOW has begun. This is my first video in which I'm going to elaborate on why I am anti-MGTOW. But before I go in depth about my reasons for being anti-MGTOW, I want to define what a MGTOW is. MGTOW, first of all, stands for men going their own way. Many consider MGTOW to be a movement, and that is true to some extent. It is really more of a philosophy than that. Rather, MGTOW looks at the world through a victimized filter. It believes men are the victims of bad things and that society and women have inflicted these things upon them. They are also against the so-called idea of gynocentrism, or as they like to call, against the gynocentric culture, which for those who don't know, gynocentrism is the idea that women are being put as the focus of society. MGTOW is also against marriage because they claim it is a bad deal for men. The focus for MGTOW is not society or women, but following their own desires, or in other words, self-fulfillment. From there, MGTOW gets more radical with its beliefs. It goes from the idea of using women to sex to going off the grid. And for those who don't know, it's basically the idea of kind of living out in the woods, or in other words, the isolation of oneself from society, basically not talking to people. Now, this is an idea that originated from two YouTubers, Barbarossa and Stardust, who are the creators of this philosophy. There is so much more to talk about MGTOW, but I will be exploring various levels of MGTOW later. Now that you know a little bit about MGTOW, I want to share my goals for this channel and its purpose to combat the MGTOW insanity. But before I go into that, I would like to share a quote from Bashar al-Assad, and he says that, quote, "You cannot reform your society or institution without opening your mind," end quote. And this shows us that society can only be reformed through educating people to wake up from their bitterness. And this is what I'm trying to do on an intellectual level with this YouTube channel. My overall intellectual goal is to criticize the MGTOW philosophy and to deter men from the movement. I do not advocate for forcing MGTOWs to become anti-MGTOWs, but I call for the need to question their beliefs, and that hopefully we can actually change their minds so that they will become anti-MGTOWs rather than by using force. Now, as for my channel goals, I'm hoping to grow this channel so that it will be even more popular than the MGTOW YouTubers. In the end, I hope this channel will grow even further beyond that so everyone can be aware of the true colors of MGTOW. My hope is that I can help contain the spread of the MGTOW pathogen if it cannot be stopped. The reason why MGTOW is dangerous to society is because of its black and white philosophy about people. It portrays all men as victims of the oppressed so-called gynocentric society, while making women seem like manipulative devils. This prejudice stems from a variety of factors which I will also discuss more about in the future. But the main reason seems to stem from this concept that women act this way because they are biologically engineered to steal resources from men. This is true to some extent, but men are also just as guilty of this as well, such as using women for sex. Women are not evil, but instead they have a flawed nature just like men do. This flawed nature of selfishness applies to every human being on this planet, not just women. Now I'm going to state some of the reasons why I'm an anti-MGTOW. First of all, I'm anti-MGTOW because MGTOW is against feminism. The true idea of feminism, which advocates for equal opportunity for women, is not a bad thing. Women have been mistreated for hundreds of years, but I don't blame the MGTOWs for being anti-feminist. Radical feminism has infected the third wave feminist movement and have destroyed its effectiveness and credibility, with its main focus on racial minorities rather than women in general. Crazy feminists have also been trying to get special privileges for women, such as in some cases advocating for more welfare. However, you can state that to some extent MGTOW is similar to the radical third wave feminism. The distorted version of third-wave feminism believes there is a patriarchy that controls and subjugates all women, which is similar to the MGTOW belief of an oppressive gynocentric culture that subjugates all men. In the future, I plan to make a video addressing the similarities between these groups, but I also want to point out the differences. Through exploring this idea of both of these cults, you could say, we can better understand which group is worse, or if they're just two sides of the same coin. Moving on, MGTOW encourages men to not have relationships with women. This will inevitably create a gender rift in our society. In other words, there may be a war between both genders. If both genders hate and avoid each other, we cannot maintain a society. The reason why is because we will not be able to have healthy children. It is important for children to have both masculine and feminine roles in their life. Otherwise, they will not be able to integrate well into our society. And aside from not being able to do that, they will not be able to communicate as effectively as normal people should. While I am against MGTOW, I do not believe that it is all bad. MGTOW originally had started out with good intention when it comes to fighting for men's rights. I do stand with MGTOW against gynocentrism and injustice towards men both civil and domestic. However, the MGTOW movement should be focusing on creating political and social change rather than what most are doing, which is isolating themselves from society. What I don't stand for is how they portray all women as manipulative because of their evil, so-called female nature. The problems that men face do not only come from manipulative women, but they really originate from our corrupt modern culture that we live in. It is this corrupt and toxic culture that we live in that has encouraged people to take advantage of each other. Also, MGTOW is oblivious to the fact that men can be just as narcissistic and abusive as some women. Both genders do bad things to each other. It is just the state of humanity. We are selfish creatures, but we can work past this if we have strong, clear, ethical beliefs. Furthermore, I stand against their encouragement of all men becoming celibate and abstaining from relationships with women. Relationships, and especially marriage, aren't the problem. It's the people in these relationships. This situation is similar to the gun debate. Guns can be used as a tool to kill people, but it is the person behind the trigger who is at fault. Same thing in marriage or in any relationship in general. Marriage is a good thing that brings people together. However, there are certain people who use marriage as a way to extract resources or manipulate the other person. While some reform in civil marriage is necessary, marriage has become bad for men because of the lack of morality in our society. Marriages can also be bad because people were not mature enough to enter a marriage in the first place. There are many reasons why marriage can become bad or fail. It is not this oversimplified answer for MGTOW. This problem is more of an ethical issue, rather than a civil or gender issue. It is the responsibility of the person to truly get to know the other person through friendship, before they move on to the next level of the relationship, which would ultimately lead to the marriage. Many marriages fail because people have made the wrong or impulsive choices. However, some people are lied to or cheated on before or during their marriage, with the other party unaware of the deception, and this could mitigate the fault of the innocent party in that marriage or relationship. However, there are laws that protect people against marriage fraud. In general, relationships and marriage can be bad for a variety of reasons. They are not bad themselves. Instead, it is the deceptive man or woman who takes advantage of this intimate relationship with someone and uses it for selfish means. It is narcissistic and abusive people who ruin marriages, not just women. Although MGTOW is good in some respects, it is mostly a radical men's rights activist group, or also known as MRA. The reason why MGTOW cannot be allowed to spread is because it cannot control many of its toxic and more radical members of its community, as well as its dangerous encouragement of isolationist ideas. The MGTOW community will continue to become more radical and out of control if there is nothing to counteract its growth. While there are no levels of MGTOW specifically, there are certain people who have created new radical branches of the MGTOW philosophy. I have not heard any MGTOW condemn these radical beliefs, such as suggesting curtailing the rights of women. There is a better philosophy out there than the MGTOW philosophy, and it is the philosophy I have created for the anti-MGTOW community. Rather than social isolation and opting out of society, we need to fix the problems we find in our culture before things get more out of hand. I advocate for this new philosophy that I've created that addresses the concerns of MGTOWs while promoting liberty and common sense. I call this philosophy Vercentrism. Vercentrism is the idea of focusing on putting morality at the center of society and promoting reason, family, love, and addressing issues on human nature and relationships. It also stands against anti-marriage groups, total societal celibacy, or isolation, and it promotes healthy relationships between both sexes. I will go more in depth about the philosophy in the next video. To achieve these reforms, society must be educated about the truth of our disgusting modern culture, and the corrupt government must be cleaned up. No politician will ever be able to do that, and that is why I prefer that people take action. When it comes to reform, Vercentrists prefer that it should be first done through peaceful protests and winning democratic elections. Citizens should be more involved in the affairs of their government, especially on the local level. However, if the government decides to violate our rights or attempt in any way to force us to follow their beliefs, people should be willing to take a more forceful approach. These are some real solutions that can help reduce the modern societal disease that plagues the world right now. While I am the architect of this idea, I could not have done it without the help of my friends who have contributed to this philosophy. I'll be leaving links to their channels in the description box below so you can go check them out. Because I want to keep this video to the point and on the basics, I will go more into the idea of Vercentrism in another video, and what it means to be a Vercentrist. That pretty much wraps up this video. But before I go, please support this channel by sharing these videos so that we can make more people aware of the truth. And like Bashar al-Assad was saying, if we want to change society, The first step is to help others become open-minded through enlightening ourselves and others to the real truth. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time, ladies and gents, farewell.